in.
Go ahead.
This is the design team of Mathews Architecture and LS3P. And I'm going to turn it over to Jane Mathews. I want to remind you that we really do need to keep the presentation to 30 minutes and give the board 15 minutes of question and answer. But the floor is yours, Jane.
Thank you, Tim. Dr. Baldwin, Chairman Reinhardt, board members, thank you so much. We are very excited about being here today and about the opportunity of serving our community and the Buncombe County school system through the design of the Enka intermediate school. We have brought together a team of really good friends, people who enjoy working together, who have worked together in many aspects of your community to bring the best of the best to serve your needs. Mathews Architecture, my firm, will serve as your liaison. We will be your contact in the day-to-day. We will be the liaison with the consultant team and with the school staff on a regular basis. We are based here in Asheville, as are most of the team members, and we will be partnering and have brought to the table a good colleague of ours who we are working with, have worked with in the past. This is not a marriage of convenience. We have worked together a lot, LS3P. We are currently working on the AB Tech, Enka campus, Asheville campus master plan together and have worked on other projects together. And we're excited to bring their national recognition and expertise in educational design. We have a lot of public design and a lot of educational aspects, but they bring state-of-the-art knowledge and educational design to this project, which we are very excited to have as colleagues. We also have on the team Civil Design Concepts, who I know probably you're familiar with, but they bring just a great skill at working with our mountain topography and working with local jurisdictional reviews. I couldn't ask for a better teammate to help us through that process in an expeditious and cost-effective way. Claysville Engineering, already met, but they are typically our structural engineer of choice. We've worked with Woody for more than 20 years before he even started his own practice. He and I worked together on civic projects throughout the Asheville-Buncombe County area. And they are really architects, engineers. They're really good to work with and will work, I think, hand in glove with our construction management at risk as well to find the best systems that we can quickly get in the ground and up and built. Soot Associates, again, longtime colleagues who bring energy management skills and energy design skills to play in systems that are reliable and cost-effective and efficient. Sitework Studios are our landscape architects. I apologize, I haven't introduced everybody by name on my oversight, but Stephen Lee Johnson is here from Sitework Studios. Areas of children's play areas, outside spaces, revegetation of the landscape, those are areas that they would be working on. Currently, we are collaborating with them. They are the lead for the new children's garden at the Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden in Belmont, and we are doing all the outdoor hardscapes and structures. And they bring knowledge of designing for children spaces as well. Camacho is expertise is in school food service design. They do schools, and they will be our consultant for school food service, and have worked on many, many, many projects with LS3P. And then finally, and probably really a very important part of it, is Aiken Cost Consultants. Our office, and as LS3P, both of us have worked extensively with Aiken. We do a lot of state work, a lot of local municipal work, a lot of nonprofit work, and it's important to have reliable numbers. You have to stand behind the investment. You represent the community, and we need to give you numbers that are reliable. And it has always been we've always found that Aiken is our best source. They are an independent cost consulting company that can work as a third party. Even if there is a construction management at risk doing numbers, we have a viable data to work with, and they do a lot of schools, so they see the cost. So we're very proud of this team. We are a very collaborative, very collegial group, and we're excited to be together today to work with you and for you.
Oops, sorry about that.
So Mathews Architecture, my firm, has we're in our 22nd year here in Asheville, and we have a history of doing a lot of public work all over really the region, but extensively in western North Carolina. And like I say, we're currently working with LS3P on the AB Tech Master Plan. These are just some representative projects. We've worked on the Avery County Indoor Recreation Center, which was a $17 million plan. Wesley Grant, which is City of Asheville's first lead project. And we were the construction local architects for the North Carolina Arboretum. We've also worked in the Asheville City Schools. We're working with private schools. Currently, we're working with Hanger Hall. If you said today's paper, we're actually the architects for Hanger Hall. We have worked with other institutions in the area, and we value the public design and the need for meeting expectations, not only your expectations as board, but the community's expectations for what the results will be, working within budgets, working with durability, expectations of performance. We understand that, and we have a long track record of successful projects, as does our colleagues at LS3P. And these are projects, Representative, that you know from the community that they've been involved with. NAHEC facility, the YMCA, I'm a member of the YW, so the oversight. The Grove Park in Spa, and again, they have also worked at the North Carolina Arboretum. And I think these are institutions, they're used to working within the community and within community expectations and aesthetics. I'll turn it over to Paul, talk a little bit about their K-12 experience.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us. I'm Paul Boney, and our firm was started 92 years ago. I'm well preserved for 92 years. It was started by my grandfather. This is a map of North Carolina and South Carolina, and the counties represented in red are ones that we have done educational facilities over that 92 years. We've done over 2,000 school projects in our lifetime. We are one of 8 firms selected across the U.S. to work for DODEA, which is the Department of Defense Education Activity, and we are doing schools for them for the 21st century schools that they are building now. Those 21st century schools provide the latest thinking in school design and also security. And Susan's going to talk a little bit about that. We have a great respect for the past, but we are clearly focused on the future. We celebrated a birthday on Tuesday. This project was the first project my grandfather did. The guy he was working for died, and so he began our firm. And this was his first project, so I'm telling you, he did pretty well.
Ascension.
And they are still using that, and it's part of the community and part of what we do. Right down the road from you, down at Cool Springs, we did the renovation of the board offices for them. And over that period of time, and that was a before picture, and this is what it looks like. And so we began that process, and we're really proud of this project because it saved and gave new life to an older building rather than just, when I went out there were trees growing out of the window. So we've done about $75 million worth of work for Rutherford County over a 10-year period. So we have done a lot of stuff. Today, any successful project is going to have these components. One is a feeling for the community. 2 is a good, solid process that gets you to an end. 3 is quality for the project. You have to stay in the budget. It's not a suggestion. It is the budget. And then schedule is something that you really have to maintain, and particularly on this job. And CM at risk is something else that I'll talk about a little later.
As we know, Enka is an important part of the community, and you've already begun by providing models for intermediate education in other districts, and we understand the equity issues related to Enka, but there's also a rich history architecturally. And most of us live and work and have children in public school systems, so we understand the value of public education and the service and the growing needs in the Enka area. We know how that growth has changed just in our lifetimes being here. And we understand that there are models we may want to look towards. I actually was in this building years ago when I was working with Handmade in America on an expo, and AB Tech was using this to build partitions for us for the expo. And the daylighting in that space that was innovative probably for its time as an institutional industrial building provides daylighting. And the daylighting is a priority obviously in design of new schools. And so what models might we look at by taking the best of the best? And in addition, like I say, we are working at the Enka campus nearby, so we're familiar with the area. And Chris Eller from Civil Design Concepts is going to talk a little bit about the site as well.
This is very familiar and home to me. I remember slipping into the back seat and going underneath my parents' back seat to slide into the Enka. My dad worked at the Enka plant as I was a child, so kids weren't allowed in the plant. So very familiar with this area, especially under a blanket. I got probably a little different perspective today than I did back then to go sneak into my dad's office and eat lunch with him. But also, just today from a civil engineering perspective, we're doing quite a bit. We're very conscious of the demographics of what's happening in this area. Obviously, there's a lot happening. We're doing engineering on the Biltmore Square Mall. If anybody's driven by lately, the roof came off in the past 2 weeks. So big things are happening in very close proximity, including an apartment project that we're in the planning stages directly across the street from this project. So expect there's some integration of some DOT infrastructure improvements and things that may hopefully get taken care of for the school, and we feel very comfortable in being able to integrate the projects together and understand the fabric of the demographics in this location.
I'm going to talk a little bit about our process. It is our preference to work with the school district, with you and your stakeholders in a charrette process, which is basically just a workshop where we come and work with you if you would be willing to host us here at the district offices or at a school, where we literally roll out the tracing paper, find out what's important to you, pin it up on the wall, start doing our sketches. Our goal is in a 1, 2, or 3 day period to come up with a good idea of where we're headed from a design standpoint and a programmatic standpoint together to start off the project, so we know that we're all on the same sheet of music as we're moving forward. You will hear us talk about quality, budget, and schedule, because we know those are 3 things that are incredibly important to you, and they are to us as well. You may have heard people say, well, we've got quality, budget, and schedule. Pick any 2 of those, and then the third one falls as it may. Well, we are here to tell you, you can get all 3 if you pick the right team, and they're working together as team members. There is every reason to expect that all 3 of these will be good metrics for you and for the project. Quality means a lot of different things to us in a project. It means functionality, such as the reception area of a school. You need to have great lines of sight out of that area so that they can see what's going on at the front of the school. So it means all of the functionality that you need in a school, for bringing parents in, bringing children in, using the school on a day-to-day basis by your teachers. It means creating neighborhoods for students with pairs of classrooms and open gathering areas, which is very similar to what you have in your current intermediate schools. You are on the cutting edge with what you have, and we know that you want to continue that. So that's one aspect of quality. Another is just very common sense design things, like having clear sight lines down corridors, so it's easy for a very few administrators to have great visual control over the whole facility. That's extremely important. Another aspect of quality is the building itself. What are the materials in the building? We like to use durable, proven materials. We don't want to try out anything new that hasn't been proven. Schools need to be viable for, as Paul showed us, 100 years. And we need to make sure that they're going to last that long. So we use proven, durable materials on our facilities. On the interior, as this space illustrates, a can of paint and some daylighting can create an absolutely fabulous space for teaching our children. And we believe in finding those delightful opportunities in the facilities that we'll do with you. This is an art room that actually has a movable exterior wall, so it opens the art space to the outdoors, so they can do art inside and outside. This works extremely well for some of the programs like art or some of the programs that you may have at a high school where you need access to the outdoors. This is an innovative way of providing acoustical properties in a commons area that's kind of fun. It appeals to children because it's playful, it looks like clouds, but it's providing the acoustical properties that you need so that this isn't a low roar all through lunch period. And this again is an example of bringing the outdoors into the facility. This is a simple addition to this school, but it created a wonderful gathering area for the teachers and the students. Now, we realize that you don't teach this way anymore. It's not a lecture format. We realize that you teach this way. Your teachers are working with groups of children that are gathered in the classroom. You have groups of children that are gathered in pockets in the corridors. They're in the commons in groups. They're in the media center in groups. Your teachers are working with all of the different children on their own devices. We know you may be going to one-to-one in the future. What this tells us, because you're working this way, is it tells us that the infrastructure needs to be extremely robust and you need to have maximum flexibility. What you need is to be able to see as far as you can into the future and then go beyond that to provide flexibility, to provide access throughout the building. Someday you may ask us to do a planetarium dome. I have to show this because it's just the coolest slide. We put this in at Furman University in one of their science buildings. So there are amazing things we can do with technology these days. We work on a BIM platform. It's called Revit Architecture. And what it means is that we build a model of the building in 3 dimensions on the computer. It includes all of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, the structural system, all of the architectural systems. So it's a life-size model or a life indicating model of how the building's going to go together. We will give it and work with it with the CM at risk and then with the contractor. They can do takeoffs of materials and things like that off of it. One of the reasons it's important to us is it helps with clash detection, which means we don't want a duct going through a beam. And we want to solve all of those things before we get out in the field. This allows us to do that. With that being said, this is our final step of clash detection. This is Roger, who works in our office in Charlotte, and he and his team, our quality assurance and quality control, they check every set of drawings we do before they go out the door. There is nothing that can replace a fresh set of eyes on a set of documents to find things that the original team may have missed. And we don't think you can put a set of documents out without doing this step. Budget is increasingly important to school districts. It's hard to spend taxpayers' dollars. We know that you have an incredible sense of fiscal responsibility, and we share that. We know the budget is what it is, and we will meet it. Whatever it is, we will make sure we get you a quality building within those dollars. That's where the CM at risk comes in. Is there another player in making sure that this happens for you? As Paul mentioned, budget is not a suggestion. We know that is what it needs to be.
In talking about budget, we also appreciate the fact that sustainability can be done under a budget. This happens to be the Wesley Grant Center for the City of Asheville. It's the City of Asheville's first LEED project. And we were mandated to hit LEED Gold by the Asheville City Council as their first project out of the gate. And to do that, we had to look at many aspects within a very tight budget. And Jerome is going to talk a little bit about the systems, but we successfully met and exceeded city's expectations by hitting platinum, the highest you can get. And together, both LS3P and Mathews have designed over 13 million square feet of sustainably designed spaces, whether they're LEED or Green Globes or other third-party systems. My background is environmental design, and we happened to adopt LEED very early on as the first sort of viable program that was out there, and realized that to greenwash something wasn't the way to go. So any kind of verification system is better than none. And we also helped pilot the North Carolina Healthy Built Homes initiative. So we've always been innovators in sustainability and working in low budgets when we do it, whether it's affordable housing or the city of Asheville. But I'm going to let you.
Livingston Street.
This is Livingston
Yeah.
Street
Yeah.
and Depot. Yes. This has an auditorium and classrooms. It's the first phase of a 3-phase project which we master plan for the city.
And we worked with City Associates, we worked with Jane on this project. And in this specific one, we did incorporate geothermal heat pumps and daylighting controls and a number of, and you see there's roof gardens and all in this project. But what I think is most important about the sustainability is that there's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not, let's use some technology and call it sustainable. It's an integrated design process, and it's one in which decisions are made based on real information for long-term life cycle costing together with budgeting, and also looking at not just technologies, but looking at operating costs and looking at maintainability. A long-term solution of sustainability involves good planning, it involves being aware and experienced with current technologies, and it involves a mind towards how the building is going to live. And that's an important part of how we integrate sustainability into our project.
And again, it really doesn't matter to us what certification system. We think some kind of certification with some third-party certification is a valid acknowledgement of the design, both for you as the owners, that you're getting the product that you want, and for the community at large, that they're getting a sustainable investment in their school. And so, like I say, we have a lot of experience in both these, and this happens to be Green Globes and LEED. We've weighed some of the differences. The bottom line is that we are, as Jerome says, it's an integrated design process. Those decisions, it doesn't matter, the certification decisions will be made with sustainability in mind.
My name is David Bellamy with LS3P, and thank you for having us as well. I want to talk a little bit about the site and then have Chris help out as well. This is just a site diagram, and a lot of it's based on the information you've already provided. We had a chance to take a look at the site, and as you can see there in red, we've got the buildable area shown. We've also started not only just the marker renderings, but started drawing it three-dimensionally. For time constraints, we didn't want to have the big board since we knew it would be a tight room, but we've got it drawn three-dimensionally to go ahead and start getting a feel for the site. We're out at the site this morning. It's a great site. I think it has a tremendous amount of opportunity. We've shown similar to the provided documents of the bus entry on the northern side of the site and the parent entry on the eastern side of the site. And Chris, you want to touch on some of the environmental aspects?
I think your staff's done a great job of getting a good jump on things, and I think it's good to see that it seems like there's a lot of land here, but when you quickly start putting all the constraints in place, you realize it's a little tighter than it maybe gives perception of. And so we're working on, the luxury of working on Asheville Middle School right now, and taking something from this level and carrying it to the next level. It's fun to be able to analyze site costs, because that's a pretty key component. We dropped a lot of program elements in the middle school just to be able to get it to work because of the cost of the site that was tied to. So I see opportunities, and we've discussed them as a team, and look forward to carrying this to the next level and really focusing on cost and budget to make sure this project comes in.
Also, too, just to note, the existing trees on the site are very substantial trees and can really be a site amenity as you go back towards the creek. So certainly to schedule, you've heard us say budget's not a suggestion. You understand too, schedule is not a suggestion. We're here to tell you as a team we can do this schedule. We're confident we can do it, and we're excited about being able to share some ideas with you about how to do that. As you can see, we've got, Paul will talk in a moment about construction management and the aspects and how that will integrate into the schedule. We'll pass around just a hard copy of what we got.
It's a little hard to read. We wanted to make sure that you know it.
So we've gone ahead and started with some ideas of getting started next week, as soon as possible. As Susan mentioned, in a charrette process, we need to get growing immediately so we can get everybody together and start getting those ideas on the paper and start drawing. We also have milestones set of meeting with DOI and DPI, Department of Insurance and Department of Public Instruction. We don't send a set of drawings all to Raleigh and wait on comments. We drive to Raleigh, sit down with the reviewers, and talk about it face to face. We want to be proactive in that process because we have to be. On this kind of schedule, you have to keep things concurrently moving. On the site side, you want to?
Yeah, and fortunately, from a time constraint standpoint, we're on the county side of the street and not the city side across the street. So we have a few less hoops to jump through to obtain approvals, which theoretically should buy you realistically between 4 and 5 months. We have one public hearing, Board of Adjustment, and so I feel like that the expedited is a realistic schedule that can be obtained from the site work. Obviously, an early site package is something that is encouraged and obviously mentioned, and I feel that's very accommodating as well. This is a DENR project, there'll be county funds involved, so we'll actually go to the state. Similarly, we'll go meet with them on site. Typically, I get these permits in a week to 2 weeks with the state as opposed to a month to 2 with Buncombe County. So you've kind of got the best of all worlds going in permitting, being on the site that we have.
I'll talk fast due to time constraints, so sorry, but if you'll notice a key portion in this is a cost estimate of 50%. That is right before what we're suggesting is an early steel package. We think to accomplish this project, it needs to be a steel frame building. Certainly masonry will be in key areas to get the masonry look for the community and security. So you'll have the masonry feel of a building, but for the expedited construction schedule, you need to not go low there, and we would recommend. With that in mind, the cost estimate is to assure that you've got enough steel, not too much, not the right amount as you place a mill order to get in line. What do you want to talk about?
As David said, the steel platform, the steel framing plant is going to give us the best system to be able to get it dry it in right away. So we're going to get the steel in place. It'll be probably a 2-story building. We'll get the roof on, but that will not preclude you from having any sorts of masonry partitions in the corridors or any other place that you want. So this is just a way that makes the best of both worlds. We can get the speed and yet still give you the durability that you're looking for.
And we could certainly answer more questions, but this is, I'll hand off to Paul for the construction management.
So in order to accomplish the schedule that you're looking at, you kind of have 3 things. 1 is collaboration, 2 is communication, and 3 is trust. The team has to come together with the owner, the architect, and the CM at risk, and we work as a team. We have done literally hundreds of projects in using the CM at risk. We've done 57 buildings for one guy in Charlotte using this method. So we understand how it works, and I personally was on the State Building Commission when this legislation was discussed in 2001, and as your your RFP shows with GS 143-128.1, that's the law that allows you to do this, that there are a lot of things that the CM at risk is going to accomplish as far as the schedule and working as a team with your group and our group together with contractors to be sure that that this project is accomplished within the budget and within the schedule. It is not just a suggestion, and lots of times we are on the selection committee with you with the CM at risk so that we can give whatever expertise we have and knowledge about the CMs from other work that we have done.
And then we'll just add to that, that all of us as designers have had experience with CM at risk, so we all bring that expertise. But again, just on behalf of the team, we are very excited and really looking forward to hopefully working with you. We enjoy working together. We are committed to meeting your needs and the needs of our community. It's our home, our community, and we want to help you make the best for the Enka community as well. So thank you very much, and we'll answer questions.
Start with Mr. Craig.
What's your major concern of this project, or do you have any concerns with the project in terms of the site plan, projected cost, time frame? anything that jumps out at you as a concern?
I will let Chris, I mean, I think we've tried to address the site, but I'll let Chris answer that one. We have not heard the budget. We asked Mr. Fairley and did not get a firm budget. I think he was dodging our question. So, but I think as we've said, we work on public buildings. We get budgets handed to us all the time. And I think we are very good at doing quality buildings with limited resources that are well designed aesthetically, functionally, maintenance-wise, efficiency, performance. That's our calling card. We do it all the time. Budget.
Yeah, and then basically from the site, obviously you have some constraints. There's potentially rock. There's been some geotechnical studies that have indicated that we have some issues we're going to have to contend with. I love the idea of CM. In middle school, we bring it to the table. We say, what about this? Well, we moved it over here. Because even if we can get the site pad down to ground elevation, we may be digging through trench rock to get the utilities in. Well, that doesn't make sense. So having the CM process, I think, is going to help us vet out the obstacles that we have on the site, and that'll be something we have to do very quickly because obviously we'll be tracking a process to get foundations in the ground ASAP, presuming this stays on a fast track.
And we're willing to start Monday.
Yeah.
You know, if you make a decision tonight, we're willing to start contract or no contract in hand, and we've done it before.
Ms. Churchill? Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
You
no,
wanna add
please.
something?
Well, I appreciate the extra set of eyes that you were mentioning in Charlotte, because as a parent, I've been involved in a school not opening on time. So my question is, it looks, and I may just be reading it wrong, but it looks like you're saying the final construction is ending in July with the
Yes, ma'am.
expectation that we're going to open in August.
Well,
Yes, that's what we have assumed. The schedule will need to be massaged with you to make sure we have all of your dates correct. Because we want to give you at least a month move-in at the end of construction.
And we understand that's a month is not a lot of time to move into a new school. We're just trying to get as much room as we can for the construction, but certainly we need to talk up front. If you need more than that, if you need typically use 6 weeks or 8 weeks, then we need to know that up front.
Oh, we can do it in a week. That's right. Ms. Franklin?
I'll pass.
Normally also,
Ms. Baldwin?
The civil engineer question, I just wanted you to clarify, you said this was the Diener project, you mentioned it as one of the groups that you have to do with permitting and that sort of.
Correct. Grading permits in the county are typically obtained here locally at Buncombe County level, given that there will be funding and it being a Buncombe County school board project. Past experience has been that we get those to the state, which is at the regional office here in Asheville. So we just call the local Diener rep out, meet them on site, and again, we find that we get the permitting faster actually there than we do the county. So I think that'll help this project's timeline.
Okay. Mr. Bryant?
In terms of your schedule, and we went through this with our two other intermediate schools, both being done at the same time. The start of that project was one of the worst winters we had here in some 10 years. Have you factored in, is this schedule factoring in, because you're going to work over the course of 2 winters, although the second you'll be under roof and finishing out, but have you factored in if it's bad, if it's average? How has your schedule taken, what dynamic in terms of winter have you used in creating this schedule?
I don't know. If you want to talk to systems and the success of using the system that we're looking at.
Well, I think, as David said, this is just a starting point. So whenever we get the CM at risk on board, then the official schedule will come together. And there's no surprise. Everything is going to have to be moving quickly. So the fact that it shows that it's going to be completed, 4 weeks or 6 weeks before school starts, that's just showing that it must be then. So it has to be evaluated, and more than likely, obviously you have to add in weather and things like that. So look at that as just a theoretical schedule that has to be made real. We'll be doing everything we can to be able to push things along. And so, as a structural engineer, we'll be able to get the structural steel ordered early, because that has a pretty significant lag time to get it ordered, get it fabricated. So we'll be maximizing those sorts of timeline landmarks to be able to shrink the schedule as much as
Also,
possible.
from a grading standpoint, we're going to be working on the building pad.
Just the building pad.
We'll focus on the building pad, and that is a focus right away. And so that we can get in the foundation work, and then we can get the
All
steel
utility
packing
work
work,
and
all the
everything,
utility
yeah.
work. But we don't have to grade all the peripheral stuff, and so you could do that when the weather is better in the spring. But we need to get that building pad stabilized and done, and that's the first thing we would be working on from a site civil standpoint, and we would work with the CM at risk, and they would already have a grading guy on board, and we would be able to move ahead very quickly.
And if I'm looking at this right, the CM selection is July 1. It's
Yes, sir.
quick, right out of the box.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's, and that is critical also.
And I will say, we're presenting, I think it's been pointed out, we're presenting a potential schedule. We're missing a partner in the
Right.
CM at risk, and we're not having a dialogue yet with schools.
You,
But
yeah.
it is a suggestion, we think we can meet if, if everybody comes to agreement. We can get our work done to meet that. Construction part, we'll need to discuss.
Mr. Bless? One thing that really interested me, that you brought up, the sawtooth design of the old Enka plan. I was wondering how it could be a possibility to incorporate that design, not only from a aesthetic, but from a energy conservation point of view. Is that something that obviously you kind of considered, or can you address that a little bit?
But we're kind of weak.
I'm sure, I understand.
I don't know if anybody else, do you want to speak to it, or I'd be happy to, but.
Go ahead and start, and I'll.
I mean, obviously, we
tag
want
on.
to look at orientation, in terms of if we're going to use that kind of a design, we probably want to maximize the location, to get north light, diffuse light into the building. And so we'll need to look at how the prototype, we understand the prototype is a program, and that there are aspects of it that are working very well. And we're going to want to hear more about the things that will tweak or change from what has been done at Evelyn and at Clunes. So, but we think we could use a design like that to integrate into a system of light